This is your host, Shiloh Ekstrom, and you are tuning in to Grit and Grace. Real people, real conversations, and real grit. All right. I am so excited for this episode today, not only because I have one of my favorite people and close friends with me, but Monroe is joining us today, and she is a powerhouse internet marketer, crypto wizard, I like to call you, but seriously, just the queen of doing things, and you're 26 years old. I think people need to understand that. Age does not matter, but girlfriend, you have done a lot of things in 26 years. And, you know, we are here to talk about some tough stuff today and also talk about what you're doing to empower women, giving voices to women. I'm definitely on that train with you, and we are leading the charge in changing some lives. So I'm really excited today. So Monroe, let's hear it. I want to hear you say hello to all of our guests and give us just a little rundown of your story. I mean, you have an incredible story. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Like that's you. That's you, and I totally get it. So share a little bit about the first few years of getting involved in entrepreneurship, because I know it was tough.
It was so because I was driving my son back from school today, and God will just remind you every day how he moves in your life. Mm-hmm. And me and Spencer were a little late to school. Spencer strolled into the kindergarten with his coffee, and we were like 15 minutes late because first day back from spring break, typical us. And I just was so overjoyed with the revelation that like I have become the woman of my dreams. And taking it back 7 years ago when I started this journey, and I had no clue the life that I could create for myself. And I was telling someone last night how you were a silent light for me and you had no idea for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. But when I stepped in entrepreneurship, I was forgotten youth. I was someone that was discarded by society. I had left my family when I was 15 years old. I lived with my friends and then moved into foster care. I was on a high and fast life, making a lot of money for that time and going to school, paying myself through school because I did not get to graduate high school. And so I was paying for my college. And I was driving down after a party, and I passed out drunk in my front seat, and my friends found me and they took me back. And that is when I woke up the next day in a stranger's house, and I wanted eggs. I smelled eggs and I was like, oh, I want eggs. I hated eggs. I found out I was pregnant that day, and that changed everything for me. I went from this little girl who didn't necessarily have something to live for to realizing that I housed a life that was more precious than anything that I could ever imagine. And I had to shift my mindset, my actions, everything. And so 7 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful little boy. His dad was abusive. And even though we was making really good money, I had decided that I needed to give my son a different life than the one that I had grown up with. And so I left. And I remember the first day that I had to leave my little boy to go work a job in a man's world, because either in Oregon, you're either a nurse or you're a logger, or you do something with the wood that the loggers get. And I worked my butt off, and I ascended, and I became the highest paid position, which is a utility under the foreman for the shift. And I was making great money, but I was being sexually harassed by my foreman, and no one would defend me. And when I was introduced to entrepreneurship, it wasn't this big world that I live in now. It was a small network marketing situation where this kid who I played football with on Saturdays, which is my only day of freedom, was driving this brand new Mercedes. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I know you don't do anything but sleep and play video games. What are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm with this company and it's completely changed my life. Here's some products. And he just jumped in on me. And I'm like, okay. So I took those products to work the next 3 days. And at the time I was completely addicted to energy drinks. And so I swore to him that I would not drink those energy drinks for the first 3 days. And that product completely shifted everything for me. My body woke back up. I started thinking different thoughts. I felt great. I was smiling when I got home from work to my son. And I was like, you know what? If this man who does nothing but play video games all day can run around in this Mercedes. And I knew nothing of this world that I was about to step into. And maybe I can do something with it. And I bought my package with my rent money, and I went all in. And after 14 days, which is crazy, 14 days, I made $1,450. And when my foreman, who I had just taken 3 days off because of the sexual harassment charge case because someone brought it to his attention, he looked at me, he said, you can either go to relief shift, which is 2 days on, 2 nights on, and then 1 swing shift, which I could not afford daycare for, or you can go. And I kindly said, you. Yeah. And I walked out, because if I can make $1,400 on the internet from random strangers, and I can be present with my son and not deal with that kind of harassment, I can do anything. I knew one thing in my whole life, that I could count on me. And so in that moment, I stepped out in faith, and I have been faithing for 7 years, and I have been free for 7 years. And I remember the only thing that I wanted was to be present when my son was in kindergarten. I wanted to be the one that took him to school every day and that picked him up, that could wait in the line with whatever treat I wanted to give him. And I could have show up to his events. And I remember dropping him off at kindergarten the first day this year, and I was there. And so I've done magnificent things. I've made a lot of money online. I've showed up and spoken next to people who I used to listen to on recordings. I can call certain people that were my mentors, my friends now. But the thing that matters the most to me is that my son thinks that I'm a freaking superhero. And the generational things that I infused in him when he was a baby, because I didn't know how to be a non-toxic parent, I have now healed with my behavior, my actions, and my examples through things that I have learned in this space. I am currently in the process of launching one of the greatest crypto projects that we are going to shake the nation. I am currently in the process of partnering with people developing a private equity club for Black women. When we are funding our first real estate fund, completely ran by Black women. I am taking spaces that I didn't even know existed when I started on this journey. But God's plan and his favor over our life will outshine any past story, will outshine any amount of abuse, will outshine any amount of disbelief in myself. I stepped out in faith, and I kept taking little actions every day. And every time that God was using a situation to refine my mind and refine my spirit, instead of breaking, I pressed forward. I lost a daughter during this process by myself. I lost a husband during this process by myself. And I still kept going. And here I'm in this season where I'm looking across the screen right now to someone who silently was my partner. I used to use Shiloh's story as 3-way calls, and she had no clue who I was because I didn't have a support team. And I manifested the friendship that is across from me, and one of the most powerful people that I know. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of powerful people. And Shiloh is a amazing storm, I would love to call you, because we are storms. We are literally storms. People know when we're around, and we are shaking up this industry. And I am so thankful for your influence in my life. And I'm so thankful for your journey. But, I don't want to do a highlight reel of what I've done, because I think my greatest success is I've renovated the generational structure of my family, and we will be a wealth machine from this point on because of the decision that I made to stay the course. So thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time to share my story, but that's where we're at right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been crying the entire time, and I didn't expect to do that. I think it's just one of those, this is an episode where we need to hear a story like this, because, and even I need to be reminded that there are people. And Meaghan reminds me of this all the time. And this is why I asked you to come on, because she needs to be on a platform, and she's already on a platform. This girlfriend doesn't need my help, but the platform for women are what Meaghan and I are really passionate about. And, at the beginning of this, I did say, race, we talk about race, and that is like, I'm always so scared. And Meaghan always reminds me of, no, stop being scared of saying the truth and asking the right questions, and just ask them, because there are people out there right now. And this was me. Okay. So obviously, Meaghan, that this last year was wild. I mean, the last 2 years have been a little bit wild. It was shaken up. And sometimes we all have to be shaken up, and we have to see the yuck, and we have to see the sad parts of things and people, but it also is a blessing. And what came out of, when I look at 2020, I see blessings. I know you do too. A lot of people are stuck in this negative mindset. And what happened to me, and because I had great friends like Meaghan, I was so confused. I was angry. Meaghan was angry. Everyone around us was angry and hurt and confused and sad. And all of a sudden, I start seeing my friends acting really wrong, and I'm not saying that I agree or disagree. I saw these people kind of losing their shit. Let's just say it like that. And then I lost my shit. Okay. And there was a humbling moment that I think God was like, you need to sit down for a minute and look at this different. Because, and Meaghan and I have talked about this, when the riots were happening and when all this stuff was happening, I think white women for sure thought there was two sides of this coin. It was, I'm going to apologize for being white, and I'm going to lead the charge on, being that way, which put a woman like me going, I don't need to apologize for being white, but I'm confused. I don't know what to do. And therefore you were wrong. And that's where the messages got mixed. And I want to talk about this because this is a hard conversation right now. We're going to talk about it. What I realized is it's not about me. It wasn't not about me. It wasn't about what white women are doing wrong or of any color. It doesn't matter what color. We needed to identify and say, hey, I see you. We weren't doing that. We were putting it all back on ourselves. And Meaghan was a really bright light for me because I finally started asking the questions and she answered me. Like, I didn't know how to ask them because I felt like I'm going to be called a racist if I ask it wrong, or I want to help. I have friends in every part of the world, of every color, of everything. And it's like, how is this turning into a one side, a one or the other? And so, Meaghan, let's talk about it. Talk to everybody out here, not only, women, number one, but I want you to talk to white women right now. Let's just talk to white women right now who need to know how to help. I mean, we are in a place of privilege. I will say that. And it's true. We're living in a privilege. I mean, I have champagne problems. It's just true. So do you. I mean, but you've also come up from serious stuff. We all have a story. It's not about that, though. I think I want you to explain and talk to our friends of every color on what we need to be doing for each other instead of pointing fingers and calling names. What can we be doing right now to help each other?
I think that the biggest thing that we need to all focus on is grace in this time, because what's happening is when you have emotions that run high and you're speaking to a hurt place that's also in a place of truth, we are dealing with generational shame. We're dealing with generational fear. We're dealing with generational wounds. So if you know what that's like, breaking that off your family and how painful it was to break it off of yourself, look at these Black women that are begging to just be heard. Because when we went on our marches, when we went on our campaigns, when we started to speak up, we didn't want you to come and save us because we're doing that. We wanted to be heard. You cannot start the healing process without becoming aware that something needs to be healed. And that is where white America and even privileged Black America, I wear privilege every day on my skin. I'm light skinned. I have to look at my darker sisters and I have to recognize that I have privilege over them as well. And, and sometimes in that space, I can be hushed too. And so I struggled. But what I've learned is that if I can just be quiet and listen, not try to rebuttal, not try to fix the situation, but give someone a space to be acknowledged, that shifted everything for me. Because in this time where instead of trying to prove my validation as a Black woman, or trying to validate my white sisters who were, I know you weren't, trying to suppress what was being said. I knew you didn't understand certain things, and you were only trying to express from your space of understanding. Right. But we have to understand and overstand this issue. It has to go so much deeper than that. We have to connect with each other energetically. And until we remove the ego and we sit down and we look at a wounded sister, this was the most life-changing statement ever said to me in what was it? Youth group. Why can't I remember that? Youth group. I was a minister when I was in high school. I used to sing prophetically. I was a worship leader, and I would speak over lives. And sometimes I would get retaliated on by little girls or boys that I would speak over, and I didn't understand. And they said, "A wounded dog bites." Mm. The reason we're dealing with what we're dealing with is because we have a bunch of people who are wounded that we've been in the defense for a long time. I know what it's like to be spat on by white people. I know what it's like to be completely degraded and walk into a boardroom to close a sale for a client and be degraded because of being a woman and being of color. Mm-hmm. And as if I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what it's like to be afraid to accept a speaking position or even come on a podcast because I may not be able to find the word in my library because I was too busy trying to learn how to survive in the streets versus paying attention in school. So there's so many things that we battle internally as Black people trying to occupy this space. And when everything broke out and we finally felt like people were ready to listen and our allies, which I hate the word, but I love the word at the same time, were trying to create space for us. It was like when your child throws a tantrum or like they finally feel like they can express themselves over something they haven't told you about, and they're just breaking down and you're looking at them like, I don't know what to do. And in those moments, you don't try and fix it. You let them cry. Let your sisters cry right now. Listen to their stories. There are so many ways, backdoor ways that you can support. You can connect with people like me who are bridges, who are healed enough to facilitate that type of conversation or facilitate the type of progression. I have Black women and Black men who will not accept help from white people. Why? Because we want to stand alone and we want to do it ourselves. But what we can do is you guys can become a resource. You don't need to be the source of the healing. You need to be a resource. Here is where you can find help in your communities. Or if there's things that are programs that are broken, you guys, we need to weaponize our money, our connections, and our ability to make things happen in our communities for these people. We don't need to be giving them $15,000 grants for their business. We don't need to be putting them on some pedestal to highlight our Black sisters, because what that does is it makes it look like we're looking for credibility through that. That's not what we need to do. But if you know that you have Black women or young men who are trying to shift in a specific community, maybe schools, or there's an opportunity to fund certain programs that help with education or relief in violence, go put your money there silently. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be known. We live in a world where you record yourself helping a homeless man. You don't need the validation and recognition of elevating your brothers and sisters. And I'm going to say this, and sometimes it offends people, but it is not a Black person's job or a Latino person's job or an Asian person's job to tell you how to help us. There are people like me who are willing to, because we've come to this place where it's even playing ground and we can energetically communicate. We had to work for this too. We had some tough conversations where we were like, but we got here. Be willing to focus on what we both want, which is healing in the situation. So if you're finding yourself in an opportunity, because that's what it is, to love on your Black brother or sister, or your Latino brother or sister, or your Asian brother or sister, or your Native American brother or sister, come to a place where you are submissive to their situation, because them being more is not making you any less. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest thing that we deal with in this new place of healing, is that so many people feel like I'm not relevant because you want to be relevant. That's not what it's about. What it's about is just like when the women marched for our right to vote and the men that stood beside them. Those men didn't think that, oh, these women are going to start. Some of them did. Let's be real. Some of them did. But the men that marched besides the women, the ones that put on the high heels and the skirts, they wanted those women to stand in their rightful place beside them. My white friends love to say, I don't see color. Honey, we need you to see color right now. Yeah. Because the color needs to be seen so that you can see where we're at, so that we can come to a place of a healed world. When you guys get on the same page as us, and there's only a we, because you understand us, we feel heard, we feel validated in our pain. I'm not blaming you for slavery, baby. I'm not. I'm asking for equality. I dealt with racism growing up, and I'm 26 years old. I dealt with disgusting racism growing up, and I'm 26 years old. My baby sister was accused of a bomb threat at 8 years old because she used the bathroom. And some person wrote on the wall that there was going to be a bomb at a certain time, and they interrogated her with 5 white men and did not call my parents. That was just a few years ago. So don't tell me that this isn't still a problem. We're not talking about slavery. We're not talking about reparations. We're giving ourselves those reparations. What we need you to understand is that if we can shift the parents, if we can shift the grandparents that are willing to listen, as I'm so proud of that generation that is open to healing right now, it is beautiful. But we have to take action in our homes so that the thoughts that we're feeding our children, and even the offhanded things that we say that we don't realize because they're subconsciously programmed into us generationally, if we become aware of those things, we can start healing in our families on the white side. Because I was raised by 2 white parents, just in case no one knew that. My mom and my stepdad are white. I was raised by 2 white parents, and I have a black dad and a whole black family. But even the things they said, I dealt with racism from subconscious from my own mom. She never knew because it was programmed into her family. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just look at your own situation. If you catch your husband or your son saying things, teach them how to rephrase it. That's how you heal the problem. It's not a war. Like, it's a war in certain streets. And I have to remember that. That's why I even at times will be quiet and just create platforms where my black sisters and brothers can come and just speak and be angry and get it out. We have to realize that some people, like, my brothers are dark-skinned, dread-headed, 6 foot tall, 6'7", 6'8" men. They have beautiful locks on their head. They have gorgeous dark skin. And they were shot up at our 7-Eleven just a month ago. That really happened. And luckily no one was hurt. But it really is because of the color of their skin. There's no other reason. And I learned this because I was like, what the hell? I learned this because I was sitting with him and we parked at the top of this mountain where everyone looks over at stuff at the city. And these angry white women drove up and they were like, why are you sitting here? This is private property. It was a road. And I'm used to not being treated like that because I can change my hair. I can wear a professional looking outfit. I speak articulately because I've worked really hard on it. And I get treated like my skin tone. And they were so fucking disgusting. Please excuse my language to him. This is what I'm talking about. You guys, there's still issues in our streets. And when you see a black man or a black woman expressing themselves, even if we can't do it in a way that makes you feel like we're not attacking your whiteness, please just listen, because you are in a privileged opportunity to make a friend, and you are in a privileged opportunity to shift generational curses, because someone feels like you are worthy enough to hear their pain and to hear their heart. And if someone tries to have a conversation with you on Facebook posts, which is where I'm going to call out the devil right now, because we are using Facebook and dopamine rushes and comments that people feel empowered, because you feel victimized, we're victimized. And if we don't come to a place where when someone that you care about, like when I commented on Shiloh's status and I said what I said and you messaged me immediately, side chat, pick up the phone, talk to your loved one, Do not see the problem that is dividing you in that moment. Focus on what you both want, which is healing and understanding. Then we can get above all this lower level, fucking low chakra energy. And we can acknowledge that we love the person that's across from us. That in all reality, we really don't see skin color when we look at each other, because I don't. Mm-hmm. But in these moments, we have to recognize and acknowledge and listen to our brothers and sisters so that we can elevate to our focal point, which is the same thing that we want all around, which is unity and love and progression. Mm-hmm. But we cannot get to this spot without acknowledging the base. And that's what people are missing. So many people want to go to the solution. How can we integrate? How can we fix it? My mom taught me this the other day. She said, I can't commiserate for very long. She said, I can't feel empathy or sympathy for very long, because white America and Black America have all been in survival mode. I don't care how successful my white friends are. They have been in survival mode because our economy, our government is the problem. It is not the people. You guys don't get what you need. We don't get what we need. None of us have what we need. We're out here fighting tooth and nail for what we got. And that's why we're out here protecting it and thinking we each other are the problem. That's not the problem. So when you get to an opportunity to heal on this level, that pisses them off. And that's why they're pushing the media the way they are. That's why they're pushing the agenda the way they are. That's why they're running these stimulus checks out the way they are. Let's look at the truth and the root. When we come together as a people, when we start to heal as a people, when I can understand that my privileged middle class or upper class white friends are still struggling, and you guys pulled me up, so thank God. But you want to pull up my hood rat self. You want to pull up my hood rat friends. And we're out here running the streets just trying to make food on our table, just like y'all are running corporate America trying to put food on your table. Everyone feeling the same feelings. Guess what? We can relate on so much more. But we can't get to the solution until we start with the awareness of the problem. And that's the one thing that I really think needs to be touched on.
You hit so many things. Number one, thank you. And number two, I absolutely love it. When it comes down to it, where Meaghan really hits it, besides all the things, when the government sees people coming together or uniting, that is a problem. And I'm not here to be anti-government, but what the truth of the matter is we are being played. My conversation with Meaghan is I'm here. Like, I am here because I am seeing the way that the emotions and how they tap into everyone, minorities, it doesn't matter what they're doing to sway them to vote. To get a vote was disgusting to me. And that's where I was really frustrated, because I could see what was happening. And it's not about what side you support. I'm not going into what side you're on. I'm saying both sides do it. They tap into the emotions, they tap into the hurt and the feelings of people, and they try to use that in a gross way to get them to vote. And many times vote for things that actually hurt them, that are actually hurting them, programs that are actually not helping them, that are keeping them low, that are keeping them in low vibrations and stuck in bad places, and keeping slums, and keeping women without fathers, encouraging things that, well, if you have 2 more kids, you're going to get tax breaks. It doesn't matter what color you are, it's happening. And it's gross. Our social system, everything is screwed up, and it needs to be completely rebuilt. Okay. We do have an incredible country that needs to be rebuilt. There are things, and we do have to get out of these old mentalities. Now, I still believe in the United States of America. I am that person. You can be anyone you want to be here, and I truly believe that. But we have to fix these old things. And so what I will bring up for my white sisters that are, they don't want to have these conversations. They don't know how. Maybe they do not have close friends that will talk to them truly and honestly. And my ego was the problem. Meaghan brought it up several times. I was like, but I'm not racist, but I'm not this. I don't see color. I was saying those things, and I'm like, I don't get it. It wasn't about me. And my ego was fighting me on this until I finally just stopped and I went, wait a minute. But my friends are still hurting. That doesn't change what's happening. My friends are still crying. My friends are still getting hurt. So I have to stop. I have to stop worrying about my damn self right now, because yes, we're women. Yes, we are the same. I'm a good person. Meaghan's a good person. But there are people who haven't had the opportunities and took the chances that Meaghan took, and there are people stuck. Listen, I grew up in a trailer, and my other house was a shack. I didn't come from money. I had a lot of issues growing up. Yes, you can pull yourself out of it in this country. It takes a lot. And if you're not connected to someone, Meaghan found somebody playing football. Not everybody gets connected right away. And not everybody makes it to a connection before someone.
And just to interject here, it's not even about everyone doesn't get connected. It's that we, Black women especially, I'm going to just speak to what I can speak to, so afraid of being taken advantage of being publicized for accepting a hand up, so afraid to step into what looks like an opportunity, because the one thing that we don't have is multiple chances to fail. If you work with a Black woman, especially, you will notice that we will wait sometimes a while before we have everything figured out. And because you've worked with me multiple times, because I know especially when I started, if I didn't make it work, you guys heard my story. If it didn't work the first time, I didn't have an option. There was a time 2 years ago when I stepped out of network marketing and I was starting to step into my marketing and everything else. And I realized, like, if I fail at this, what am I going to do? Go back to school? I don't have my high school diploma. I'm no one without my power, without being in alignment with who I am. A lot of these women don't even think that they have options, because we had to opt out of the system to survive. And so just to speak on what you were saying, it's like, it's not even that we didn't get connected. It's that sometimes we're so afraid to take the hand up because we know how far and hard that fall is on the way down. And we know that if we exit the place of no return, what if we fail? We have families. Some of these Black women have grandma and grandpa, auntie, uncle, and they have their brother's kids because he was shot or is in prison, living in their 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom home that's on subsidized housing. They don't have the option to sacrifice their assistants or sacrifice what they're doing. They're doing hair in the living room. You guys think about the real scenario. It's not because we want certain situations. It's because if we step out of it, it's a scary and a long fall to the ground. And there's no one there to pick us up again.
And excellent point, and something I didn't realize at all. Like, it's something that never even crossed my mind, talking about how the handouts or somebody will advertise. And I have a really hard time, and this has just been me for a long time, is if you give, you don't have to talk about it. If you give, you don't have to do a video. I see a lot of people who, they love to show that, again, you said it, handing a homeless man some money in their Lamborghinis. And it's like, you don't need to give and show. Like, this isn't about that. So if somebody was doing that to me, okay, what if I needed something? I'm going to put myself in this person's shoes. If you videotaped me, you helping me, or you talked about it or put me up there, I would be mortified. I'd be like, no. And so it doesn't just mean homeless. It means exactly what Meaghan's saying. Like, you don't have to go very far to see this stuff happening. And I didn't even realize it because I just wasn't paying attention. And here's the blessing too. When you make a mistake, or when you get humbled and you start to see, and you're like, now I see what this is. This isn't what the freaking news is saying it is. It's not. No, I do not hate my Black, Latina, Asian. I don't hate my sisters. That's what they want you to do. They want you to think that there is a division there. No, we don't hate each other. Are there people who do? Yes, there's 100% racist people out in the world. There is. It's never going to go away. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if we can create a utopia. We can make it better, but you're always going to have bad people out there. There's going to be good people and bad people. It's just reality. But when I started seeing the things Meaghan was talking about, I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I get it. And I was put in a room. You put me in a room in Clubhouse with, honestly, I was probably the only white woman. I didn't think about it at first. At first I was in there, I'm like, whoo, okay, these are power women. Like I loved it. I said 0 words in that room. Not because I was scared, but because of the conversations being had. They were real. But I started to hear and listen. I was looking at probably, God, half the room was 7-figure Black earners. Okay. And then Meaghan threw me in this room. So again, I'm the only 7-figure white woman in the room. And I'm kind of like, oh, this is fun. And I wanted to jump in. I didn't, because when I was listening to these women talk about the things Meaghan was talking about, I didn't expect this room to be like this. These women who worked their ass off, who were already there, they did it, are still feeling the way. You know, you think, oh, money, it solved it. Oh, you're not, no, it's not gone. Money didn't fix it. Money didn't change the 4 generations. So it was a humbling moment again. And I'm like, how do I, and it wasn't how do I help? That's not the right words. How do I get into this conversation? Because I want to be in this conversation and I want to be respected, but I need to earn that respect. And that was interesting to me because having people like Meaghan and her for me too. I mean, I'm sure she would love to chew some people's asses for stupid shit they say. I mean, let's be real. We see a lot of stuff on the internet all the time and you're just like, oh my God. But the perspective given by Meaghan today and many times to me has really changed the way I feel about what we need to be doing for women. And I focus more on women, men too. Black men need to be brought up. Their brothers need to bring them up. And that is the men who need to be bringing them up too. Their sisters are here, but the brothers need to be there a lot more. And that's something we don't see yet. We're not seeing it, and it needs to be present. But right now we're giving voices to women of every race, of every color, and that's what Meaghan and I are here to do as a team, as a collab. So let's talk about it. And I just have tears upon tears because this is so incredible today.
It's so crazy that there is so many history-making moments being had right now. And I want to call to anyone who's watching this. If you feel a deep conviction in your spirit to take a massive action in any direction right now, I need you to be obedient, because the people are making the next round of history books right now. And every single one of you, Black, white, yellow, you have a huge call in your life. And the only way that we can fix this mess is by being the biggest version of ourselves. I don't get to be scared anymore. I took my time to heal. Whatever I didn't get to, it gets to wait. Because right now we are in a time where we get to fix this system if we take action, if enough of us mobilize. Gideon fought a battle with minimal men and won because he stepped out in faith, even though he was fearful. And there's a lot of Gideons right now hiding in the field, and you're a powerful warrior. And I don't care what color your skin tone is. Step into your battle today, because right now we need you. This is a subject that we are privileged to talk about. This conversation, for us to just sit here safely and cry about, we're privileged to do this. Mm-hmm. Understand and know there are families on both sides of the tracks who are hurting and broken and without right now during this pandemic. And it is our responsibility as entrepreneurs and thought leaders and privileged people who have time to sit down and listen to a podcast or even know what a podcast is, you guys. Understand and know that that's reality that you have, that you get to take this information and you need to take action now. Mm-hmm. God has given us so many amazing talents and gifts. And we're so caught up in this news and these Facebook feeds and threads. Next time you see one, just scroll fucking past it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it be.
That's emotional intelligence. Don't comment.
Don't comment. I always say, handle it in the spirit. Like Shiloh said, I know there's some people's asses you'd like to chew. And I'm like, I don't got to, because I know who my advocate is.
Yeah.
God is going to shine so brightly through my works in this season. People are going to revel at, and I was thinking about this morning, like I haven't even told my story about last year and what that did to me, because I lost everything. I was so sick. I lost my health. I was fighting with death. And I'm in faith only. There was no way I did that on my own. It was like I put on Jesus' coat and he brought me up out of the pits of hell straight up. And I'm working on rebuilding the foundation of my life, and magnificent things are happening. And the reason why we had to go so freaking low last year, you guys, every single one of you know what I'm talking about, is because the heights that we are about to ascend to are greater than any of us have ever imagined for ourselves. And you need to recognize the call on your life. A lot of you guys are sitting here nursing and licking your wounds from last year. I'm telling you, sister, brother, go put on your Jesus coat, get up and join the march, because it is time for us to take our world back. This conversation is a great conversation, but it's nothing without action. Thank you so much, Shiloh. I appreciate you for this space.
It's awesome. And I appreciate you coming into this space. It's conversations that need to be had. Conversations are what heals. Communication heals. I mean, just being open and loving and grace heals, and I think because I've been given grace so much in my life. Somebody asked me, why'd you name the podcast Grit and Grace? I'm like, well, at first it was because I did this training on grit and grace. I thought it was cute. And then, I thought about it. It's like, yeah, I had a lot of grit. I was a lot more gritty, about 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And when you're surviving and you're in survival mode, which you get, you're gritty. You do what you need to do. It doesn't mean you do bad things. It just means you use your grit and you get there. But I've been given so much grace, even in the last year, 2 years, that that's what God gifted me with, is the gift of grace to give to others as well. And I've seen a lot of, I think forgiveness is everything. And I think that's just such a special thing, and walking in faith. And I'm a Christian woman, and I'm not scared to say it. And sadly, that's the other topic, we'll probably do a podcast on that. I mean, that's up on the chopping block right now. I mean, let's be real. It's just like everything's being challenged right now, and we have to be strong in who we are. And that's why I'm really proud of you. And all right, so we had just an incredible conversation. But we need to tell people how to find you. And we're going to throw up your bio and everything. They're going to be able to find you. But right now, Meaghan, if somebody wants to work with you, give a little rundown quick. What do you offer? And then how can they find you?
Okay, so there is so many things that I have in the pipeline right now. But the main projects that I want to focus on is two things. My crypto opportunity. So if you guys are curious about understanding why there is such a buzz around cryptocurrency, why we're seeing the numbers that we're seeing, it is because this wealth transfer that I was just referring to over the last few minutes of speaking, we are seeing an economic reset. And cryptocurrency is a safe store of value outside of our dollar. So it's going to save a lot of these lower and middle class homes from going bankrupt when we see the inflation kick in. I want you guys to go get gas today and tell me that made you happy. Okay, that's all I need to say. Inflation is already kicking in. We just launched a $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, and 9% of that COVID relief package was going to COVID relief. Our government is not printing more dollars. They are in the state of a digital currency. And so right now we are seeing this already being widely adopted. Don't miss the train. Get into the space. Reach out to me. You guys can message me on Instagram at Millennial Mo. I'm sure it's going to be on this cryptocurrency. I will get you access to free literature that you can read and educate yourself on what all this stuff is. I know it's scary and weird and in the internet, but think about all the time that you dedicate to the internet already, right? So if our money's there, it makes no difference. It's already there. We're already there. There's not $1.9 trillion in circulation. Let's be real. You can't go get that from a bank somewhere. Okay. The next thing is Wealthy Women in Waiting is a private equity community for women that want to start a business or have a business that needs help growing and scaling. And your business may not be structured properly. You may not be legally protected by your LLC or C Corp. And so making sure that you know how to file your taxes, that you know how to structure your business entity in a way that allows you to get business funding properly. There are so many opportunities, and people are out here starting businesses with $10,000, $20,000 or no money, when you could be starting with a couple $100,000 and, insurance in your back pocket, making sure that you're safe, as well as business plans. So Wealthy Women in Waiting as a program, it is application required, but that will be something that in this next season, you guys will see and hear a lot about. And then the last thing that we're doing is I am teaching people how to launch e-franchises. So essentially you will be building an e-commerce brand and learning how to franchise that and sell territory. So it doesn't have to be people buying giant brick and mortar buildings. You get to franchise your online store and then turn that into a residual income where you're selling your brand for other people to use and leverage. So yay for those projects that are here, and I'm excited. But yeah, I have a website. You can go to www.millennialmillionairemarketing.com and you'll be able to access me there as well.
Awesome. And Chelsea will get your information to Meaghan, and we'll make sure we have all that up for everybody. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. So as we close, I want to thank you for being just a rock star, being a friend. And we have lots of fun things coming, you and I as well. So stay tuned for those things. Thank you for joining us, everyone, on another episode of Grit and Grace. This is Shiloh Ekstrom, and we are officially done. Thank you for listening to and watching Grit and Grace. This episode will be continued next week. Subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple iTunes to listen, and download the Lux TV app to watch anytime, anywhere.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. Now we have the product out on the marketplace.